Greetings, Patrick here, Eight Questions with, and welcome to the show. As you can see, it is daylight here, 3 o'clock, and that means we are on the road. We have flown over to the UK virtually, flown over to hang out with our good friend Mike from Did You See That? And we have so much to talk about. Um, he just got back from being married and congratulations to him and Emma. We'll be talking about that in detail. We're talking about his channel. We're talking about, of course, we're always going to be talking about good films, right? We're going to be talking about good films. We're going to be talking about bad films. We're going to find out the movie that Mike wants to collaborate with me on. Because you know me, I'm all about collaborations. Um, and yeah, I'm excited. This could be a lot of fun. It's always good to have Mike on. I've been on his channel. I think I've been on there like 5 times now. And there's one thing that I've noticed that every time I go on Mike's show, I'm not even kidding you. You can go back and see for yourself. Every time that I have gone on his show, um, we have ended up talking about sneaking snacks into the theater. It always comes up. It's hilarious. I mean, I go on maybe a couple of times a year, but every time we come on there, we're talking about sneaking snacks in the theater. It just it's like it's like this is like it's it's the funniest thing. So you already know that's going to happen already. We're going to be talking about if Mike snuck some snacks during the wedding itself. I'm sure he had I'm sure he has some crisp in his pocket. Uh, while he was standing up there doing his vows. I'm actually trying to think if I had any snacks in my pocket. I think the only thing I had in my pocket was lifesavers, certs, breath mints. That was the only thing I think I had because I was nervous. That's what it does things to your breath. Anthony's here. He is still stuck at 2009. Um, Scottish geek guy sliding into the house. All right, all right. Um, had a great discussion last night with uh, uh, our friend Frank Marino yesterday. Just been a This has just been a great week for the show. We had Sally McLean on Tuesday. Um, just another wonderful interview. Um, and we talked to Frank yesterday, and Frank is one of those Iowa actors, which means he comes from an incredibly strong film community. I discovered them. I discovered them in depth last year. I interviewed a lot of the filmmakers and a lot of the actors from there, um, and I wow, it's cool. It was really fun to talk to him, and it's a good conversation too. Really good conversation, and I hope you guys will take a look at it. And of course, we have Mike here today. Uh, just to let you guys know, there will be no show tonight. I am dark tonight. I just decided to do the one show. Most of the time, whenever I do a UK show, I will do 2 shows. But I decided to just do the one today. This will be it. Um, Special shout out to tonight on Hobbs Horror's channel. Just type in Hobbs Horror. They will be having the 200 episode of uh, um, the Midnight Hour, and that's going to be happening tonight. I don't sure what time it's going to start. I don't know if it's going to be 10:15, which I hope it is, because that means I'll be able to come over and say hi, or they're going to do it at midnight, which will take me out of it. Uh, Either way, I'll catch the replay. All right. So after 2 weeks, what else has been going on? After 2 weeks, I finally got my review up for Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition. I did a comedy. I put 4 comedies up there for you guys to vote on. I even put a Seth Rogen movie up there because you guys all know how much I love Seth Rogen movies. So I put him up there. I was fair. I was honest. Um, I even put Mrs. Doubtfire back up there. I had put her up there once before, and she lost. That movie lost. I was like, "What?" Okay, that's a blip. So I put it up there again, and I expected it to clean house. But we end up watching, and my review is up now. But we end up watching a Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Um, I did not like this. I did not. It did not agree with me. Um, I know that probably will surprise some people here, but what I did like, and I did comment on my review, um, was I was blown away with how good John C. Riley was as far as as being a singer. I was blown away. I was like, I did not expect that. I mean, I knew that he had done a musical. He had done Chicago, but he had also done the weakest song in that movie too, in Cellophane Man. That song was some bullshit. Not very strong, not a very good song. The weakest song of the play. But he had sang it. He did sing it. So but you really don't think of John C. Riley as a singer. You think of him as a comedic actor. You know he has done drama as well. So I watched that and reviewed it. It's up on the channel now. You guys can check that out. And then we're going next week. Our movies for next week are already up. I think it's a pretty damn strong field already. We just put it up a couple hours ago. We got some votes. Everybody has gotten at least one vote so far. I expect it to be a very busy week. We put out some good ones. We put out some good ones. Um, I'm anxious to see who. It's always interesting to see which movie is going to win because you think you know, but then you don't. Um, we also have a Clash of the Titans coming up. In fact, we can announce a new Clash of the Titans, and the second one's going to be a corker. I can't wait. It's going to be so cool. So Clash of the Titans is a series that is under the Midnight Society umbrella. So that's me, the cat, the gnat, and the bat. Me and JT are going to go at it this Sunday on JT's channel. We're going to be up there at 4 o'clock on JT's channel, 4 o'clock, and we will be talking about The Last of the Mohicans, which is by James Fenimore Cooper, which is a classic book. Hawkeye, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, Russell Means, Wes Studi, and Madeline Stowe. Just an amazing film. Beautiful, one of the best scores ever in any movie. One of the best finales too. I mean, it's boy, when you come down and say, what's the worst bad guy death there is in cinema? Like, what bad guy has died the hardest? You got to put Wes Studi up there. You have to put his death on the top 10. That guy dies so bad. That's just even after all these years later, you just go like, son of a bitch. Um, but the movie we threw up, me and the Cheetah, we put up the 13th Warrior, written by Michael Crichton, also known as the Eater of the Dead, and it stars Antonio Banderas and Diane Venora, and very, very good movie, excellent movie, actually, I think excellent. Um, uh, Probably the only thing, as far as, I mean, it's really good. It's suspenseful, it's exciting, action packed, uh, very well acted. That's the movie's just, it's badass. Uh, um, and the really good thing about it was, I've commented on this before, is a lot of times whenever I see Antonio Banderas movie, I immediately start thinking about Cat, the Puss in Boots from Shrek. And then I have watched this movie twice now, getting ready for the show on Sunday. Did not hear it. All I heard was his character. I'm so happy. I'm so happy because it was a little bit of a bummer. It's like it's funny at one time because his accent, and he does the Puss in Boots and it's great, but you don't want that to discolor his performances. Like, he does a drama movie and you find yourself laughing because you think of the Puss in Boots. So I was really happy to see that that did not happen to me. Um, it's going to be a corker. And then next month we got a new challenger coming in there, and we've already done superhero movies. This is going to be great. We're doing superhero movies again, and I'm going to do this with Kyle Curtis Flett. Me and Kyle are going to battle it out for Clash of the Titans in March. And I asked him, says, "What do you want to do? You know, you pick the movie that we're going to talk about. You pick the genre that we're going to talk about." He picked my all-time favorite movie. Of course, he didn't know that. He didn't know that. But he picked my all-time favorite movie in Superman 1978. Holy I mean, what do you do? You know, like, man, well, what do I run out there against that? You know, the first, the original, the greatest. But, but we did. We found one, and it has all sorts of. It's in a lot of ways, in my opinion, it is better. It is better as far on many levels. And I picked Superman Returns. Brandon Routh is definitely equal to Christopher Reeve. Really is a Superman. I mean, he's not going to be remembered as such, but if you go back and really watch that movie and watch him and how he plays Superman in that movie, it's awesome. He does a great job. I always felt like Kevin Spacey was a far more lethal Lex Luthor. Um, I also love that. I love Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. Um, and just like the first one, to me, the weakest part about the first one actually was Margot Kidder. I did not like Margot Kidder's Lois Lane, and I did not like Kate Bosworth either. So there's a lot in common there. Did not like her performance as Lois Lane either, but I did like Cyclops. So I thought Cyclops was pretty badass. Uh, so we're gonna be doing that one on March 22nd. That's gonna be Saturday, and I can't wait. I can't wait for it. I really didn't expect the superhero genre. I was waiting for Kyle to bring up, you know, like Insidious or you know, maybe Godzilla or, you know, Scream or something like that. You know, it's like, okay, you know, this is gonna be a good battle right here. But he picked Superman, my favorite movie of all time. So I thought, well, you know what? Superman Returns. It was either going to be Superman Returns or Man of Steel, because I think Man of Steel has a lot going for it too. As you're a Superman fan, I think Man of Steel. You know, I guess that's the reason why DC keeps rolling it out there, because other than Superman 4 and some level Superman 3, they do a pretty good job in presenting Superman on big screen. I feel I don't other than, you know, other than the gimmicking casting on Superman 3, and only Superman 4 being, you know, just a pile of dog poo that it is. The rest of the Superman movies, including Snyder's cut of the Justice League, we don't talk about the Abrams cut. That just does not exist. That the more I think about this, the only reason why Abrams gets a pass is because is this not his movie? He got called in to do what he to try to save it. Uh, hey, Betty J. I saw the really cute picture of Olivia. I am such a big Olivia fan. Hey Joe, how are you? How are you? Um, yeah, Indie Escape Network. I was hanging in the chat. I was hanging in the chat while they were talking about Captain America and Brave New World, and yeah, I'm anxious to see that. Um, I am so digging Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I think it's amazing. I think he looks great. Um, and they have a replacement Falcon in there, which I thought was really cool. um, bummed out by the political bullshit. Let's put it out there that Marvel did not feel comfortable enough to put Sabra out as she was in the comics. She's an Israeli superhero, and she has appeared in many magazines, but politically they're scared of that. All right, our friend Mike is here, so we're going to be talking all things fun movies and marriage and all that other good stuff. We're going to try. We're going to try to see if Mike.
Hey, Patrick, how you
All
doing?
right. Good, good. So, did you sneak any snacks in for this interview?
I haven't. No, I got my water.
I didn't realize that till I was getting this ready. I went back and I was watching my interviews my appearances on your show, and I noticed that every single time we end up talking about sneaking snacks into the theater, I'm like, how the hell does that happen to us?
It's a very common topic of discussion, but it's
It
always
really?
a fun one to have.
Oh,
Sure.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
So we were just talking a little bit about. We're just talking before you got here. We're talking a little bit about. We have a new series from the Midnight Society. We're doing called Clash of the Titans, and what we do is we find a pair of movies that me and the guests we both love. It's not a my movie's better than your movie. It's like I love your movie, but I love mine just a little bit more, and here's why. Because both movies are excellent. Both movies you pick out. And so I picked out my favorite movie of all time is Superman 78. So I asked Kyle Curtis Flett to come on and do the show, and I didn't know. I asked him, says, you want to pick your movie, and I didn't have, I did, whatever genre you want to do, and he goes, Superman 78. It's like, man, that's my favorite movie of all time, and I got to go against that. But I think I did all right because are you big into superheroes? Do you like the superhero movies? Or
Yeah, I love the superhero movies. I think nowadays they're a little bit hit and miss more than in the past. But yeah, the Superman 78 movie's great. I only watched it for the first time a few years ago. I really, really enjoyed it.
oh, it's amazing. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what do I have to do to, because I don't want to get blown out,
Right.
It's such a great movie. And it's like, how the hell do you go against that? But I picked Superman Returns.
Okay.
Superman Returns is so damn good. It really truly is. For being a bit of a remake or like a reboot, I mean, they probably did it just a shade too much, but they made Superman in that movie.
Right.
The one scene that just my most singular, and I thought the first movie where he went back in the time, where he screamed, and when Lois died, he goes back in the time. I always thought that would be my definitive Superman moment. Like, wow, because back in the 50s and 60s, he could do that.
Right.
But I thought the scene in Superman Returns, where he's lifting that island full of kryptonite, he comes out of the ocean lifting it, and Lex Luthor sees him lifting that. That is my definitive Superman moment. That's my Superman right there. That is what he's capable of doing. It's so. I mean, I was sitting there watching that in the theater, and I had popcorn and Coke, and he come lifting that thing out and going, "Oh fuck yes!" It's so amazing because that's him. I get jazzed when they do superhero movies right.
Right.
It's because I love the genre.
Yeah, me too.
And of course, what kind of movie has gotten you like to sit there and what movie has ever gotten you to sit there and say, hell yeah, stand up and go like, yes, an excitement, like, whether it been an action movie or a horror movie or whatever. What's a good movie that has caused you to have that kind of enthusiasm?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know two movies specifically. Um, First one touching on like the superhero genre for me would probably be Batman Begins. So the first example for me, Batman Begins, is when he's doing this training and when he's going against Ra's al Ghul towards the end, and the Scarecrow, when he's fighting Ra's al Ghul at the end, in that like really big battle as the movie builds up. For me, I was like, the adrenaline was going. I was excited. I was like, really great to see this guy's journey from the League of Shadows right at the beginning all the way up to the finale. So that one for me, Batman Begins changed my perspective on movies in general. So I've got to give a lot of credit to that movie to start with.
Mhm.
But I think secondly, probably my favorite movie of all time, Back to the Future, right? When this journey we follow throughout the movie of George McFly being this wimp, he's picked on, he's bullied, his wife wasn't exactly, ideal situation how he met his wife.
Right.
And then right at the end, when he gets that courage to stand up for himself and stand up for the love of his life, and he punches Biff, that's a moment you're like, hell
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the redemption
Oh,
arc of George McFly. So
dude,
that for me,
the whole theater erupted at that. You're right. I mean, when he
right,
popped out, the whole theater like were like, hell yeah.
right. Because I mean, how many people can relate to bullying, and standing up to that bully and having that courage and because that takes a lot, it's not easy to stand up to someone who's bullying you or who's taller than you, stronger than you, more muscular built than you. So
Yeah,
that,
that was you know what's really it's really funny is that it's really funny is I watched that movie and I
mm,
see that scene with with Crispin Glover and Tom Wilson, and I'm thinking to myself, well, like if this was a real deal, we I think we would have to try to root for Tom in this situation because Crispin's actually he's a pretty wicked he's pretty wicked. He's actually pretty skilled in martial arts. Um,
mhm,
and
mhm.
they used him in they used I mean a lot of people didn't even recognize him when he did Charlie's Angels.
Right, true.
Yes, yeah. But that scene with him and Lorraine in the car, and it's just no Biff, and he just that was a great moment. Great moment.
Hmm.
The chat is rolling in here. We have Dark Room Reviews rolling on in strong.
Oh,
Um, Scottish mentions his unpopular opinion. Man of Steel is the best Superman movie. You could make a great argument for it to be for sure. I mean, there's a
mm,
lot about Man of Steel that's right. The fight
mhm.
with him and Zod through Metropolis, absolutely perfect. Perfect.
Right.
That's how
Great
it's supposed
movie.
to be. That's how it's supposed to be. I mean, you can't
Right.
get two superhero power beings like that and not spill a few building. Um, Absolutely agree with that. Um, and I think honestly, I think they were able to take that Man of Steel, that fight scene with him and Zod. I think they got away with that because the Superman lived in that damn island, and then the Superman returns. They're like, "Oh, we can make Superman strong. We can
Yeah.
make it strong. We. It's okay. People are going to go for it."
Right.
Um, I
Right.
see people are saying congratulations about the wedding.
Oh,
Our
thank
friend
you.
Cheryl is
Thank you.
here. Um,
Thank you so much.
see, I rate rate Zimmer's score over Williams. Whew, that's a tough one. That's a
It.
tough one.
Yeah.
Iconic. Williams. In fact,
Yeah.
man, it's almost to me, it's almost like right there beside Star Wars. As soon as you first hear the first notes, you know what's
Hmm.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Hans Zimmer, but I still got to give Williams a edge over score. But God, I mean that's like saying, what do you like to eat, steak or steak or lasagna? It's like what do you eat? They're both really really good.
Right.
Uh, let's see,
Great.
the chosen one, evening gentlemen. Are we looking forward to the new Karate Kid movie? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my brother Joe. So hey Joe. Oh,
Oh,
hey
okay.
everyone in the chat as well. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, yeah, that's gonna be pretty damn exciting. I think.
mm,
Um, I think what's really cool about that movie is the fact that it's allowing Cobra Kai to go forward. It's not going to end with Cobra Kai. Now they expanded the universe. So it
Yeah.
would have been sort of cool though to actually see Daniel and Johnny go together to Japan. That would have been
Mhm.
really interesting. Um, that was my whole thing with Cobra Kai was seeing the redemption of Johnny, and seeing William Zabka, seeing his star, get resurrected because he's actually a really strong actor, and he never got the shot. He really never did.
Nah.
After the Karate Kid, he never got a clean shot at a good career, and he did a lot of small independent movies, but he never really got. I mean, Ralph Macchio, he did. They put him in a lot of big budget movies, and he just didn't match up. He didn't. He was
Yeah.
great as Daniel, but I'm not seeing. I'm not sure if I could see him, playing a master guitarist.
Right.
That yeah.
Right.
Um. So
Uh,
everybody's commenting. The big thing though, everybody's commenting on is the fact that you did get married,
I
and
did. Yes.
yeah. So like I was caught by surprise.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, I'm getting married." And I went, "Hell yeah!" So was this something that had been underneath? Is this something that you have been cooking with for a while? So tell us a little bit about because me,
Yeah.
and congratulations! Let's see your prize. All right, Window Twin Powers activate. That's right. Form of a kick ass husband. Hell yeah!
Yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
That's right. So,
Um.
because I didn't know that you were like in that situation where you had a partner, and So, I mean, is she into? Because I don't think we've ever seen her before on YouTube. Does she do? Does she have a YouTube channel? Is she a big movie girl like you? Do you guys do anything together on screen before? I mean, did I miss it?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, great question. Firstly, thanks Patrick for the very kind words, and anyone in the chat as well. Really, really appreciate it. So Emma has been on my channel a few times. We've done a few collaborations, but it's mainly been for horror movies. That's her favorite genre of movies, horror, primarily. And when it comes to marriage, so yeah, we actually had the wedding planned for 2 years. Um, so a
Did it
very
fly?
long.
It flew by, didn't it? It flew
Yeah,
by, didn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Now the thing is with myself is I like to let my personal life, you're probably a bit like yourself, Patrick. I like to let some of my personal life, on the internet, right? Some bits and pieces here and there, I don't mind sharing too much.
Right.
But then there's certain parts, especially with Emma, who's not like an online presence as such. She doesn't do like YouTube. She doesn't really do like TikTok and like she's on them, but she doesn't create content. If that makes sense.
Sure.
So when it comes to this kind of stuff, I also want to be respectful of Emma. I also want to say, like, right, like, what are you happy for me to share? What do you not want me to share? And also just being cautious, because you never know who's out there. You never know who's looking. You never know who's, after certain information, right? I think that's the problem with the internet this day and age, really. So, when it came to the marriage, so the marriage was on Saturday, just gone, the 15th of February. Um, I hadn't uploaded for a week because I had some of the best friends from America over, for example, like Ryan, who from. He's just changed his channel name to Real Talk with Ryan,
Yeah.
or Anthony Perez, or D Movie Man, for example. Like those guys came over from the US to the UK for like the week before the wedding, and they were there at the ceremony. Um, so when it came to putting it on YouTube, I said to Emma, I was like, "Are you okay with me sharing this photo for YouTube? Are you happy for me to put that on there, or would you rather keep that personal?" And she said, "Yeah, look, I don't mind you sharing the photo at all. That's fine." So it's tough. It's having that fine balance. Like
Sure.
I love. Oh, this is cool, by the way. I don't know who's done this, but that's cool.
What?
Fire,
What?
fireworks in the
Wow.
background. I don't know who did that, but
I
thank
don't
you.
know either, but do it again. That's hilarious.
That
I
was pretty funny, actually. I don't know who did that.
I don't
Uh,
know either. I wasn't. It wasn't me. Yeah. No one. That's pretty cool.
I don't know.
Whoever did that, that's cool. I wonder if that was, if I do it over here. Is it a YouTube thing? No,
I do not know. I'll be honest with you.
okay, all right. Yeah, I agree. With that. I mean, some people want, like you asked when we were talking about doing the show, and he says, "Could you, I'm going to get married, but don't say anything. Not a problem.
Right.
Mouth sealed." Because
Right.
it is a private event. Even though like it is, it's yours. It's the most special day in your life.
Right.
Uh, I feel it is. I know. I even feel my personal opinion is, I think it's the greatest day in your life, and
Yeah.
I even think it even beats having a child. I mean, because the mother's
Right.
having the child, you're watching it, whereas the wedding is, you're both in it. It's
Both.
both what it
Yeah.
symbolizes, what it means. And
Yeah.
so I think your wedding day is the most precious day of your life. There won't be anything else like it. Uh,
Nah. Nah.
no,
Not at all. I agree.
man, I dig the ring too, man. Your ring is tight.
Thanks, man.
What did you get? I got white gold.
I think it's zirconium, if I've got that right.
Really? Not onyx?
No, zirconium is what I was told anyway.
Okay, it's a great looking ring.
Oh, thanks.
Let me. I know some people in the chat are married. I know our
Okay.
friend Betty J is married. Um,
Congrats,
so
Betty.
yeah, it's I think it's cool. I do.
Right.
Um,
Right.
now 2 weeks, and you worked together on the wedding together, and you invited your friends. I didn't even know. I knew you and Ryan were friends. I didn't know
Right.
you guys were that close. You like best friends.
Yeah.
I was like, when I saw the picture of him over in your wedding, I was like, oh shit, because he didn't say a word to me. That's how much we kept. He didn't say a
Yeah.
word to me that he was going over there to stand up for you. And
Mhm.
I never told him either. I never said, oh, so what do you think about Mike getting married? I never said anything, because it was like, because I was asked not to. So
Right. Right.
I think
So,
that, I think I do you feel I just feel like your friends really came together for you, huh?
mhm. Yeah, definitely. So I think it's one of those things, Patrick, where like me and you talk off here, right? Like we talk and we share cat memes and stuff, which is great. Always makes my day. But like with Ryan, for example, like with Ryan and Anthony A. Perez and Richard, I know you met Richard on the stream last time you were on as well. Like we talk on voice notes nearly every day. Whether it's just saying hi, how are you, like how's work, X, Y, and Z. So when it came to the wedding, apart from those guys who came, I messaged you, and I said about the wedding, keeping it privately, and maybe like Norman Rad 89, and maybe like a few other people, and that was it.
Right.
Um, just keep it very intimate, like people who I'm close with and people who I can trust, like yourself, Patrick. I was like, right, I'll share the news with you guys, but I didn't want to make it publicly on YouTube,
Sure. Sure. I think sometimes, like, some people know, because I don't talk about it. I found myself not talking about it nearly as much as I used to. Um,
Right,
but people who know me know my story, and so I don't mind that, if they want to talk about it, or bring it up and talk about it, I'll share it with them. But
right,
it's no longer something that I'm not doing it first. It's like it's a more of a reactionary. It's like, I heard something happen, then we can talk about it. But as far as going out there and beating the drums for it, and I don't do that anymore. I
right,
just don't. I do find myself trying not to to be more careful as far as what I put out there. In some respects, some things I'm probably going to be talking a little bit more vocal, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about too, because
sure.
like I like to know, like, I'm watching you. You're one of my close friends online,
Mm,
and I know a lot of folks over in Great Britain. We all know we got, there's Gareth right there. You know there's other folks that are
yeah,
from the UK. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that over here in our country, you see what we're going through here, and it's only going to get worse. And I get scared for my friends over in the UK. What's it like talking to people now? From YouTube, from here, from America. Has your perception has changed a little bit now that you've seen what our country is capable of doing and putting a madman in power? Does that really discourage you as far as talking openly with Americans?
No, not really. So for me, it's everyone's different. Everyone's got a different opinion, and that's fine by me. Absolutely. I think for me, Patrick, it's more so like, for example, when me and you talk offline, as you said, it's like sharing cat memes, like, and we might ask how each other are, etc. So we have like a friendly conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I trust you. I think you're a great friend as well. So that for me, it's easy to talk to you, right? And the same with Ryan, same with Anthony. We talk casually. Like, politics isn't brought up in conversation, and if it was, I can't comment because I don't live in America. So it doesn't affect me unless the person you guys got in charge talked to our person in charge and something drastically was going to change my everyday life. That's when maybe something would be involved there.
Well,
But
I'm just thinking right now, and it's funny you mentioned that because that's exactly what's happening now.
it's starting
Our
to a little.
Yeah, I mean, your prime minister has talked about putting troops in Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's because of our president.
Hmm.
Our guy, that guy, and the funny thing is our former president, that's one thing about that was, they don't talk about this, but
Hmm.
as far as one of the best things that Biden did and Obama in that sense is that they worked really hard. We always talk in movies, by the way, but this is important too. This is important.
Right, right.
um, because this affects our future or our future relationships with our friends. Our passion for our friends, because this is a very scary time to be in Europe, and not just the UK, but
Right.
in Europe entirely. Scary times.
Hmm.
I think a lot of young people, they weren't there in the '70s, in the '70s when you know it was like this in the '70s, but worse. I
Right.
mean, and now they're racing toward it. Um,
Mhm.
but I was, that's what's happening. The UK is, your prime minister says, well, we're going to put, we're going to be putting troops over there. We're going to be deploying. To me, that just scares the shit out of me. I don't want to see anybody. I mean, that might be somebody I know that might be being called over there, and I don't like that idea. I like our friends over in the UK. I don't want anything to go sideways. Um, but it has to be talked about. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't want to talk about it." Nobody wants to talk about anything bad,
Right.
right? No, nobody, unless it's a bad movie. Um,
Right.
uh, uh, then you go to town.
Then good. Right. Right. I
um,
think I think, Patrick, not to interrupt you, and to just kind of like answer your question as such. But yeah, so whatever the powers that holds the countries together decide to do, I agree with look, it's a shame. It's awful that this is happening in the first place, and innocent people's lives are being lost every day to a war or to some stupid decision that someone's making. Ultimately, the thing with me though, to answer your question, is it doesn't affect my relationship with you guys in the states because you guys aren't making those decisions. Like you guys aren't in the White House making those executive orders. Like you guys are cool with me, like I'm cool with you guys. Like we collaborate, we have fun, we have great conversations, and we also have those conversations like this one. What's not easy to have, but because we have that trust with one another, we can have an open discussion about it as well. Um, and yeah, I'm just an easy. I'll be honest, I'm an easygoing guy. I'm happy to talk to anyone and have a conversation with anyone as well. Um, Personally, with like politics, I don't really get involved in them. Just in general, like even with the UK, because unless it kind of involves my personal life or my family's personal life or friends' personal life or something that's going to affect my like everyday living, then I start paying like more attention to it. But I still keep an ear out to like, look, this is what's happening. But it's
I,
it's just
you know,
it's just upsetting,
it is because it is very upsetting. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, I just can't imagine what it would be like to be in the UK,
Mhm.
sit around and watch our president and Elon Musk throw out the fucking Nazi salute, knowing that
Mhm.
tens of thousands of your countrymen died during the Blitz. Tens of thousands of your people died. Britons died defending, taking back Germany. Same with America.
Yeah.
I just think that all those people who do that, they make a mockery of the tremendous loss and sacrifice that you folks went through, because you were the tip of the spear.
Mhm.
You held off Hitler long enough for us to get our asses over there. I mean, and I
Right.
I just want to let you know that at least one person here hasn't forgotten that.
Mhm.
And I think about that, and I think about that during our movies. Like sometimes watch Dunkirk. I hear people talk about Dunkirk. Like, oh yeah, it was a badass movie, and Tom Hardy, but I just wonder how many people actually went home and cracked the book open and read up exactly how that happened, why it
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm.
How many people do understand that really truly happened?
Right.
Maybe not with the kick-ass score it had in it, but the how it happened.
Mhm. Mhm.
True events happen in movies. They portray it. That wasn't the first one. Sam Mendes did what, 1917?
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
another powerful movie that trying to trying to shake trying to basically shake the moviegoer into, like, we can still make important movies about history, like Oppenheimer the same way. Can I
Right.
tell you? I'll be honest with you. I absolutely, even though, and it sucks. It really sucks. But I absolutely hated the remember they called it Barbieheimer.
Right.
They
Yeah.
they put Oppenheimer and Barbie together, and
Mhm.
I absolutely hated that marketing technique. I hated it with a passion. But at the same time, it's like it got people to go to the theater to watch a true story.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And it's a damn shame that you have to use a goddamn child's toy to get anybody interested enough to go see a movie like Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
You have to put in a bit of a rock and roll score, to get people to come in and watch Dunkirk. Um,
Yeah.
do, do,
Yeah.
are
True.
are our fiction, our nonfiction movies. I mean, we all like to watch the adventure movies and what have you. We're all big fans of horror movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when you go and watch a historical film, is that one of your favorite genres? I mean, do you have a favorite historical film, that's
Mhm.
pretty accurate?
That's a great question. So yeah, I like movies where when they're based on true stories, which I know nowadays it tends to be more often than not. We get where it's based on a true story or part of it is. But every time I watch a movie like that, I always go away and research afterwards, like what they did right, what they got wrong, what they fictionalized, or what they padded out. Like give you an example, the Amy Winehouse film, the
Yeah.
Back to Black last year.
Right, right.
Now, of course, she's a huge singer in the UK. She did break out in America a little bit, but primarily in the UK. So I was never really a fan of her music, but after the movie, I went online and said, okay, so what did they actually get right about Back to Black? What was actually true in Amy Winehouse's life that on screen was her life? And what actually did they add in here or did they lie about? So I know, okay, so that part of the movie is completely fictional. That didn't happen. Because they made her dad in the film to be like a saint, right? Like he was one of the greatest guys ever. He did nothing wrong, anything. But in actuality, in real life, he wasn't like that at all. So it's interesting for me, a biopic, a real story. kind of, like, for example, the movie Troy. I really like that movie from back when.
Oh, me too.
But again, it's, after online reading about, okay, so what did happen? What didn't happen? What was fabricated? What actually on screen can I take away that actually happened in reality? I don't know if I have a favorite movie. I'll be honest, that's a really good question. But it's an interest. I'll ask you, Patrick. Actually, have you ever seen a movie called The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain?
No.
So if you can, try seek it out.
Okay.
It's from 2021, so it's only in the last 3-4 years. It's Gravitas Ventures
Okay.
as
Good
well. So
label.
yeah, and like usually lower budget indie productions. But it's got Frankie Faison.
Okay.
He was in a big TV show. I can't remember what it was now. But that one is a true story and it tackles racism. But that one is like a really powerful, hard hitting movie, which I was crying by the end of it. So that one, in most recent memories, I'd say that one for me.
I remember the first historical movie that made me do that. And it was based off a true story of it was called Dead Man Walking with Sean Penn.
I've not seen it, but I've heard of the movie.
Just
I've heard.
shattering.
I've heard. Yeah.
And of course, probably my all-time both history and military is probably Gettysburg. Man,
Oh, okay.
just lost. I'd lose that every time. And I got to walk the fields of Gettysburg. I got to walk
Oh, wow.
during where Pickett's charge started, and you stand there, you look, and you see where they had to go. If you have a heart, a soul,
Right.
it's breaking. It's breaking
Right.
when you saw what they had to go through, even though they were Confederates. They still were being asked. I guess the Australians would know that during Gallipoli, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's this certain, it's just, I just feel like when those movies come out like that, and it's like, because it's luckily for us, it seems to be people, I guess maybe it's because, what they say, like in Star Wars, when Princess Leia was prisoner of Toph, and
Mhm.
she says, the more it's like a handful of sand. The
Right.
more you squeeze, the more it comes out. You can't control it. And
Right.
I just feel like here, like a lot of our civil liberties are underneath the attack. Like
Mhm.
we're watching our history being forcibly erased by our government.
Mhm.
It's like we're no longer allowed to talk about certain events in our history. Um, and I think it's causing a backlash. And I do think that, like, I think we're seeing that in movies. Like we're trying to see, we see movies like Oppenheimer come out. We're seeing movies like Dunkirk come out. We're seeing that, um, and hopefully more based on fact than not, right? Because you're right.
Right.
I'm sure the filmmakers probably knew about Amy's dad not being such a nice guy, but since he held her estate, since
Mhm.
the estate, so they had to kiss his ass in order to get their movie made.
Right.
Is that a good thing? No, but
Nah.
it's not the only way. It's the only way they were going to be able to get the movie made. It was to actually, But those
Yeah.
people who know. Those people know. Are you a big
Right.
reader? Are you a big a book reader? Do you like going to the bookstore and charity shops and looking for good reads?
Not as such, no. I've got nothing against reading. In the past, I've read a few books. I've also used Audible as well for like audiobooks. Sorry, that I was thinking of the word that I couldn't think for a second. So yeah, I've read books. I've like audiobooks. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've actually picked up one, but at the same time, my partner Emma is a huge bookworm.
Oh,
So
love it.
she loves going to like as you said, like the library, the charity shops, like the bookstores. And whenever I go in there, I always like having a look at the book sections with her and seeing what's out there, what's new. And I actually picked a book the other day for her, and she bought it, and I was like, wow, this book actually sounds really interesting. Called Strange Pictures, which is like a last photo someone drew before they passed away. That's what the premise of this book was, and I was like, wow, that would be something that I would probably read. Of course, she would read it first, then probably me.
You mean they went to people who were dying, asked them to draw a picture?
Yeah, there's a few different scenarios, but basically, so yeah. And then what they do is they evaluate the picture that was drawn and break it down to explain maybe some warning signs in this picture about how this person was at the time, or how they're feeling before maybe committing a crime, maybe whatever they do.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
pick that
it's
one.
amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, that is. You hear that all the time about about killers. Killers like to write.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yep.
they instead of it's really strange instead of having like a stack of movies. Like we always or records, like like when Columbine happened, they blame the record. They always do, right? Um,
Right.
and then if they blame a movie, right? They blame a movie. But you think about it, it's like when you go inside some of these killers' houses and stuff like that, it's not like I did it because of this and have a stack of records, or I did it because of this and have a stack of DVD. It's always a stack of writing. This is
Yeah.
this. It's always the writing part. It's never the other, never the viewing. It's always like, this is what I did. Here's my manifesto. Here's my creed.
Right.
That is sort of fascinating. I never really thought about that, but they do write a lot.
They do, yeah. I think they just like their own stories, or the imagination. They think that's what's right, in their own minds.
I mean, we caught the Unabomber because of that. We caught that
Right.
because he liked to write, and that's why they were able to track him down through his handwriting.
Right. Right.
Let's see. Eden Ridley Scott was not true to Napoleon. Yeah, I waited for that movie to come out on physical media, Tom. I don't think it's going to, since Apple did it. And yeah, that's a shame, because I really wanted to see that movie really bad. I wanted to see if they covered his misadventure in Russia. Thank you very much. And this is I really enjoy talking with Mike. We gotta do this more, really, quite honestly.
Yeah, man.
I think we've only done this like, I think this is your second time on here, and I've been on your
Right,
chip.
yeah.
So we got to do it more, for sure, because it's always great conversation with you.
Yeah, you too, Patrick. I always enjoy this, so I'm always down whenever you need me.
I know. I think a lot of people expect a lot of people expect I don't mind talking movies, and we're going to get into it because I do have a big question for you.
Sure.
But I love sometimes I just want to put the movies aside for a minute.
Yeah.
And just have a man to man and person to person, woman to woman, man to woman kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And I just think it's I think it's just something we all need to do. We can't just eat bonbons every time. Let's talk about movies.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that, but it's like eating dessert every single day. I need a little bit of meat on the bone.
Right. I agree.
So I definitely there is, but we'll swing over to a little bit of a lighter subject, because this has been in the back of my brain since you came to me, and I've been sitting here going like, did he forget me? Did he forget me? Now I know he didn't, because you were getting married. But you came to me and said, hey, how would you like to collaborate on a really bad movie? Now, I jumped on that because, as you already know, I never review bad movies. All my movies are top of the line,
Right.
From down below to Dewey Cox. I'm all about this top notch entertainment. My reviews are spotless. I don't know why nobody just comes over and watches what I review, because they're the best. Now, so I got a chance to no rebuttal to that.
I mean, it's you've definitely got an interesting take on some movies, you see, for sure. But I will say you introduced me to The Coffee Table, and I did enjoy that movie. So
You enjoyed it?
I mean,
Oh my
in terms of like it was wacky and different. I enjoyed it on like that level, you know.
Did you get queasy watching that? Did your stomach? I mean,
The,
did your stomach get a little upset? Like
at
it did
certain
mine.
at certain parts,
Yes.
I would say. But saying that though, you know, I love horror movies, and I always watch, you know, gory movies. You know, like say a Terrifier that where people's getting limbs torn off and everything. You know, um, of course the subject matter of The Coffee Table's different, right?
Because it
Uh,
could happen. That's what really
yeah,
got
right,
me because
right,
you can see that action, and it has happened. And it
right,
has, like events like that have happened.
right,
Um,
right.
let's see. Our friend Stacy has come in through the door, and she actually
Mhm.
has a question for you.
Okay.
She has a question. She wants to know your favorite Edward Norton performance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. I would have to go with um American History X. Um, don't get me wrong. I think he's a great actor all round. The guy can do pretty much anything you give him.
Yes.
But I think that was one of the earliest movies I saw of him where I was a little bit scared of his performance, to be honest, at the time, because I was very young, like teenage years when American History X came out. Him and Edward Furlong, and that movie's hard hit, and it would not get made today. You know, put it that way.
Not well. It might get made today, but the racists would be the heroes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's a tough movie to watch, and then that curb scene as well. I'm not mentioning much more for if anyone's not seen it, but that curb scene, it really kind of hit me when I was younger, you know. But like, that's a really great. Like, he was asked a lot to do in that performance, you know, and I think he nailed it. So that one, I mean, I know a lot of people go towards Fight Club as well, like great ones, but for me,
Right.
American History X, I would say.
Yeah, I would go with you on that. I go with
Mm,
you on that one.
mm.
Matt
Yeah.
Chats is in the house. Well, it's
Mac.
it's Mike from Did You See That? How are you two, lad?
Hey,
We are doing great. Glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are here.
thank you for
Um,
watching.
you definitely. We are about to ready to find out. Oh, it's funny. It's like I carried this with me, and I talked about this. I've been talking about this, and I think you'd be proud. You and I, we watch a lot of film. We talk to some people. We talk to directors and actors and what have you.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about a movie that I got to see because of you. Um,
Mhm.
uh, I had known the director. I had known the director. I've known the director for a couple of years. I interviewed him. He's been on my show many times already, and
Mhm.
he did his first feature film called Down Under. And it was interesting how you and I both watched the film, and I think it made I think it was number 3 or number 4 on your worst list.
Down under.
Yeah, the yeah, I think it was I think that's what it was called.
Was
Um,
it down below?
so below, so below.
Oh,
Yeah, and that
right.
was right. That was
Okay.
your like third or fourth rated worst movie of the year, and I'm sitting over here going like, man, he's talking about my friend's movie. He's just absolutely fucking crushing it. I'm going like, man, so it's it's a little. It was like I didn't pull my punch. I didn't. I said it was bumpy. I thought it was bumpy. I mean, I said, you know, but you know what? Have you ever watched a movie like that?
Mhm.
For me, I can tell you right now, he's making another one even as we speak, and
Right.
it looks really good. Called The
Okay.
Weeping.
Awesome.
Now, have you ever watched a movie by a director where you watched it and you're going like, man, this is rough? Um, but at the same time, you go there like, okay, I want to see what they're gonna do next time. What are they
Mhm.
gonna do next time? I mean, has there been a movie or director that you could actually look on and go like, okay, I've seen this movie, not the best, but what's he going to do next time? Is there anybody that you that comes to mind that you would like to, like, okay, maybe you didn't like this guy's movie, but wait till you see his other movies. Is there anybody like that out there for you?
Yeah, great example. So there is a director. Before I touch on that, Patrick, I want to just touch on your previous point you mentioned about the terrible movie. So that is coming very shortly because I'm going to get the movies together first. Of course, I've asked you to join on. You said you'll jump on. So once I've got the movies, I'll then reach out to you and say, right, this is the movie we're going to cover. So keep an eye out. So I haven't forgotten you. Don't worry. I haven't actually got.
Can I just make one request that you don't put me down for?
Okay, go for it.
Like Superman 4. Could you not make sure I don't have to watch that? Because I mean,
it'll be worse than that, Patrick. Don't worry.
Okay, because that's about as bad as I could think.
Yeah,
let's
but
see.
no, you're right. But yeah, like going back to the director though, I just wanted to add that terrible part in, but because I didn't get to it before. But yeah, director wise, so there's a director on my channel who's been on a few times called Oscar Wenman Hyde. Now he's an independent film director from here in the UK. So firstly, like off the internet, I've talked to Oscar. He's a really nice guy. He's very ambitious. He's very talented, and he's definitely an up and coming director. So the perfect example here is he did a feature film called Cycles, which is on Amazon Prime, so it's free to watch if anyone wants to watch that. He then did a short movie called Love of Black Spots, which was a year or two ago now. And then this year he's released a brand new movie called Mellow Drive. Now the thing is with this movie is compared to his first feature movie from a few years ago, this one isn't as good as that original feature movie.
Okay,
And I'm not, don't get me wrong, not in a bad
No.
way, but like that first feature was like more contained, more impactful, I would say, than this new outing. So
it's hard. It's hard
yeah,
coming.
it is.
How many directors have we watched? I mean, because you and I watch so many movies, but how many
Right.
first time directors walk in there and hit a home run the first time? They
Right.
knock it out of the park. That is so damn rare.
Yeah,
I really can't tell you that many people that I've watched their movies the first time through. That I just Ashley Clark was one. Liam Gavin was another one. They just come out there and crush it. And you're sitting there going,
right.
Steve Thomas, Josh Trank, and look what happened to that poor bastard. But look what he did. His first film was Chronicle. Holy crap! That's tough. That's tough following a great movie that you made.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what's more. I don't know what's more tougher.
But I think it's also important though, Patrick, not to interrupt you. I think it's also important, however, so with Mellow Drive, it is a good movie, but for me, it didn't connect with me or work as well as the first movie that Oscar did. So when I came to review it on my channel, I said, look, this is a good movie. It's worth checking out. It's great to support fellow, independent writers and directors upcoming. But kind of going back to what you were saying about your friend's movie down below, I think it's also very important for us because we've got a channel and people are listening to our opinions on said movie or TV shows to be open and honest about it. I didn't want to say to Oscar, I'm going to give you a 5-star movie review, but I don't feel that about the movie because that's lying to an audience who's watching my videos. That's lying to Oscar to think, oh, well, next time I'll make no changes because I did a perfect job. So I don't think it's fair to do that.
It isn't.
So what you mentioned about down below, it didn't work for me personally. There was elements I didn't mind about the movie, but you said he's making a new one called The Wheat Bean. So I'm looking forward to The Wheat Bean, and hopefully whatever didn't work for down below works for this one. So I'm like, wow, this director has really proven me wrong. They're a great person,
I find when you do when you do reviews of a movie like that, and it is a risk. It is an inherent risk that when you let me say, Stacy has another question for you. That's a good question.
Okay.
She always comes up with some great questions.
Okay.
If you are in a buddy cop movie, who would he want as his partner?
Ooh.
Can I offer one?
Okay.
How about Emma Peel?
Emma Phil. Wow. Okay. Okay.
I'm talking about for you. You can
Yeah.
have you know
Um,
the Avengers.
yeah, I do. Man, I'd have to think about that because if it's a buddy cop comedy, I would probably have to play the good cop. I'm guessing. I
Because
don't think
Emma,
I could. I don't think I could play the bad cop. I'll be honest.
I would. Me personally, I would. Man, I would have to have the Cheetah. He'd be, you have a canine, you have Turner and Hooch. Why couldn't you have Patrick and Paladin? Uh,
True. True.
let's see, how many great first movies? But was it 19? Yeah, Duel. That's right. Duel was Spielberg's first feature film. Um, fuck, that's a classic. Mean Streets by Martin Scorsese. Yeah, but that's so hard. So, but think of how many first-time directors crash and burn. They just, it's so hard to hit that. It's easier to mention the movies that have made it than it is the movies that haven't made it because there's so many of them. There's this. If you start sitting there and going like the first time, if you got a list of directors and then look at their body of work and you look at their first films, there are always going to be there's always going to be bumps. There's very very few that just captured the magic in the bottle, and in a sense it can be detrimental to you too. Like you come out there and you like for me, I would say Keith Thomas. He made a movie called The Vigil. Love that movie. That movie is scary as hell, and rated PG-13 at that. So it tells you that's a scary movie. Loved the first movie that he did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What did he get afterwards? He got asked to do the Firestarter reboot. And we all know how that didn't go. That's rough. You come out there and you hit the great movie, and then you get and the thing is, though, you get more resources, more money, bigger cast, and yet you think that would make you a better director, and it didn't work.
No.
But I was gonna say we're friends with a lot of these folks, and it's how do you separate the because we like to think of ourselves as professional as doing what we're doing, like maybe like you put thought and effort into your reviews, and like how do you separate the friendship from a director like your friend or my friend? How do you separate the director and you being a film reviewer? I mean, do you pull your punch? I mean, do you find yourself pulling your punches even if it's unconscious? Do you still find yourself like, man, this movie really sucked? But I'm not going to quite say that. I'm going to sit there and say it wasn't as good as the first film, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Or do you sit there and say it didn't work so well because this is why, and then you give your opinion?
Yeah.
Do you do that in depth, or do you find yourself skating away from that?
Yes, I think it's a great question. Yeah, I think for me, it's about the separation. I think it's really important because as we've been discussing, although these people are friends and they're offering you an early screening to their movie, which is great because there's a movie they've produced, they've marketed, they've distributed, etc. Again, I think it's important to distinguish that. So for me, with Mellow Drive, so I still want to interview Oscar on the channel. I still want to have a discussion with him openly and the cast to learn about the behind the scenes, what I don't know, to maybe give me some understanding as to some of my negatives that I had.
Yeah.
So for example, in my review, I said to Oscar, I was like, okay, so if I'm going to watch your movie, I'm going to give it a fair review like I review everything else. I'm not going to give you a favoritism because if I do, again, I'm lying to anyone who chooses to watch my video. I'm lying to him. I'm lying to myself. It's going to come across as fake on camera. And I don't do a fake reaction. I don't do a fake review because if I do, what is the point of me having a channel to start with?
Exactly.
That's kind of my philosophy on that. So, for example, with Oscar, when I had a few negatives with his latest movie, I did that in a review, and we voice noted and talked afterwards on Instagram. And he said, well, hey, Mike, I really appreciate your review, but I just want to elaborate a little bit further on a few of the points you had to give you a little bit of instruction about why this decision was made. So, for example, with Melodrive, just a kind of quick one for anyone who doesn't know this movie, it's based on a character called Ethan, and he separates from his wife after he's found cheating on her. He goes on a road trip and he kind of reconnects with a young love. So it's kind of like a road trip UK movie. It's out now in America on like digital channels. But for example, in the movie, you get maybe a 1 minute scene of him and his wife when she's discovered he's cheating, and then moves on. It's very quick pace. So I said to Oscar, I was like, okay, so for me, I want to know why this guy's cheated. Like, what's caused the relationship to drift apart? What's caused the breakup? What, give me some more background to this story.
Right.
Now, he told me after the fact that actually they shot a 14-minute scene to explain all of that. But they had to cut that from the movie because when it came to a distribution, the distributor said to Oscar, you've got 10 minutes. We want to see the first 10 minutes of your movie, and that's all we're going to watch of your movie to know if this is going to be a distribution deal or we're not going to do anything with this. So that's why ultimately he had to cut that down to 1 minute of screen time, right? Which is crazy, because a lot of people like maybe yourself and me, Patrick, will be like, well, we want that substance. We want to know what happened.
Right,
so, I can be invested in this story and this character. But again, from his standpoint, if he's got 10 minutes and in that 10 minutes, they're still going on about this love story, the distributor's going to be like, well, this is too slow. Like, this is not selling me on this movie. This one's be fast paced. We need to get into the thick of it quicker,
Wow.
So again, like learning that behind the scenes, I was like, right, okay. So maybe I could give a little bit of a pass to that said moment because I now know about that. But because I didn't know about that, I'm going to, of course, bring it up as a negative because I want substance. In movies, I don't need everything explained to me. Probably the same for you, Patrick. We don't need, as an audience, we don't need to be fed everything. But we want a good meat on the bone so we know a general good story. And, some things we can leave to an interpretation. That's fine. But when you've got too much on your mind, okay, so how long's Ethan been married for? How long's he been cheating for? How did she find out he's been cheating? None of that is explained in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's too many questions left unanswered.
You can't get involved with the characters. You don't have any emotional connection. So it's hard to stay in the moment. It's hard to stay in the movie if you don't have any,
So then after he's found cheating, which again is like one of them in the movie, he goes on this road trip and straight away he's connecting with a young, like a love interest from his high school days. So I'm like, well, hold on, he's just separated. Well, he's just gone on a break from his wife. I'm like, this is pretty quick. He's moved on pretty quick, So then at that point, for an audience like me or you or anyone would be like, well, how are we supposed to root for this guy, right? He's just separated from his wife and now he's on to the next woman,
Mm-hmm.
So so again, I think it's good to have those conversations, but I think it's good just to be open, honest with your thoughts, and if you learn about it afterwards. So for example, if I interview Oscar, I can now bring up, okay, so in my review I mentioned this negative, but speaking with Oscar, I've now learned about why that's a negative and why that could take away from that thought of mine, and maybe I could give this a bit of a higher score because I now know that was the issues he faced back in the background. And you've talked to many actors and directors yourself, Patrick, where they've told you the limitations they've had with a movie and what they've had to work around, and you're like, wow, okay, well, that changes my mind.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this for a long time, but it seems like lately, the movie lengths have really, if you notice the length of movies, overall they're becoming, they're short. Like I'm seeing movies that are like 60 to 70 minutes long, and I'm going like, I thought that's not very long. That's very tiny.
Right.
A couple of movies are personal favorites of mine. They go like 73 minutes, and I'm going like, man, that's not very much time to tell a story. And
No.
so, and I remember going up and talking to a director, and I said, it seems like, people are talking about how like The Brutalist was 3.5 hours long. But overall, it seems like most of these movies that are coming out, they're between 80 to 80. It used to be 90 to 100 minutes. Now it's like 80. Now it's like 80 to 90 minutes. And it's like, why, what's going on with that? Because that's not very much. You're being asked to go to the theater, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to a theater and paying full price and with a snack. Even if I do smuggle it in, I'm still not going to do that for an 80-minute movie. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm not going to do that.
Right.
That's not what, no. And I said, well, why is this so, why are run times going down? And the director said, really, really, a lot of times, as far as independents go, the reason why a lot of these movies are where they're at is cost. It's the budget. It's totally budgetary. If they had, if they had more money, they tell more story. I never thought that runtime was equal to the budget. I thought, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that was something new for me. I had no idea. Not major studios. I mean, if you're going to a Universal or a Paramount, you're walking in there and watching an 85-minute movie or 80-minute movie, that's just greed.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It'll be all in the studios and the budget. And you're right, it depends on how many story you've got told, how many characters are in that said movie as well, and the development that each character is going to get, and if we can root for them, or they're just disposable characters as well. So yeah, a lot of factors into it. But yeah, I could have definitely imagined. Like I knew the budget went on as also the box, like the runtime as well. Sorry, yeah.
So as far as like the award season is upon us. So what's your opinion about award shows? I mean, are you still a fan of the BAFTAs, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, or are you jaded and don't really care too much? What's your feeling about award season? Is it justified, or do you feel like the awards are already determined and bought and paid for by the studios?
I think with the award ceremonies, for me, I think there's too many of them. But I also think there's also too many of them because it's always the same movies and people that's getting nominated. So I really wish that there would be an award show where the everyday person can vote for, like people in the movie community. People sign up to a movie community on Instagram or Facebook or through the post, the mail, whatever. And then people go out every year and maybe write, okay, well, what was their favorite movie of 2024? And whoever gets the most votes, for example, everyone votes, they pick the top 10 movies that people picked, put them in a vote, and then you go do a re-vote. And then whichever one gets the one, that's the favorite, right?
Right.
Because, there's movies like, as we said, like The Coffee Table, right? Like that's a really good movie, but
Great
that
movie.
doesn't get, yeah, but that doesn't get any awards, right?
No, because
That,
they won't have the balls enough to do it.
yeah, right, but
And it didn't come out and it didn't make it didn't make $100 million off a $5 million budget.
right,
Or was it on A24?
right,
Could you
right.
imagine? Could you imagine kind of what I mean? If you put a movie like The Coffee Table on A24, it might not win, but you're going to hear about it. It's going to be in the conversation.
Right. Right. It will be. Yeah, you're right. So I feel like a lot of these award ceremonies, it's always the big movies. There's never really any spotlight on independent features.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two here or there might slip through, and you're like, oh, okay, what's this movie all about? But primarily, a lot of them, nah. Like, I've been enjoying the award ceremonies a little bit more as I'm getting a little bit older, and seeing who wins and what comes out on top and what people have decided, oh, what's the best picture, who's the best actor or actress, Like that's been quite interesting, but at the same time, I just wish there was a ceremony where we could vote for movies ourselves. to be
Yeah.
like, this was the best movie. So, because for me, like my favorite movie of 2024 was a movie called Blue Giant, right, which is an anime movie. But again, because this is an anime movie, people's never heard of it, right?
Right.
So then there's
I do want to see. I have heard, and I really want to see it. Flow.
right. Yeah.
Really.
So for
I really.
example, so I've seen Flow, and
Man.
Flow is really good.
Yeah.
But official cinema release is not until March for us, in March, end of March, I think. But I've saw it online because it's available on digital channels. So Flow's really good, but again, like that was nominated, which is great. It's been nominated. It's from last year, I believe. But again, as say Patrick, like for me, like a movie like Blue Giant, for me personally, is a movie that no one's gonna hear about or know about really, unless you're huge into anime. But it's a really great, compelling story. It's an emotional story. It's a one that's different to what's out there at the moment, but people just don't watch it. So, kind of to wrap up the answer, sorry, is award shows. I don't mind them, but I just feel like the SAGs, the BAFTAs, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, it's the same movies and actors and actresses nominated for 4 different times. And it's just like, why do they need to be nominated 4 different times for awards? Why can't it not just be the Oscars only? That's for your big blockbusters. Then say the BAFTAs could be for more independent projects, more underground projects like, a coffee table, a Blue Giant, for example. I just wish there was more variety.
I love the fact. I love the fact that you picked that as your number one. I picked the coffee table. That was my number one.
Right, right.
And
Exactly.
oh man, I mean Ray Murray from Cinephobia. That guy, fuck, I've never seen anybody have a finger like him. I've never seen him in movies. He just knows. He just knows great movies. He
Right.
knows great movies. I mean, I have watched him between art exploitation and Cinephobia. His movies that he has found and put out.
Mhm.
The Coffee Table, Brightwood, Molly, We. I had picked out 4 of his movies, and what are the chances of that really happening? I had picked out 4 of his movies as my number one film of the year.
Right.
That guy, he has. I mean, he as far as the distributor goes, he is top drawer. There's nobody close to him. Nobody. But yet, all his movies come out, and they really don't get any sort of love at all. And those are just fantastic films. None at all. No love. I mean, I look here. I like like me. I felt like I was like a one man machine. Talking about the coffee table. Trying to get everybody to watch it. Brightwood, watch Brightwood. Al Lecard actually watched Brightwood, and he said it was his number one film of the year too. And it's like it was really cool because it's like our voices can be heard. It's
Right.
just we just got to figure out a better way to. Well, you're getting up there. You're almost at 10,000 people. That's quite a voice. That's a powerful voice. 10,000 is a powerful voice. That's
I
the reason why.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a lot of. That's real. That's one of the reasons why folks send you stuff to watch and review and screeners and whatnot, because you have a influential voice and you review. You review films the right way. Let's see,
I try to.
Tom's here, and to see Tom saying he's never liked the awards. Yeah, I dumped mine in the pandemic 2020. I was the last time I gave a shit. Scorsese has lost 7 times. Wow, has he lost 7 times? Gee,
Wow.
that's a see, friends giving friends Oscars. Yes, that happened last year. That happened last year. There's that happened to Danielle Ditweller. She was supposed to probably be nominated for Till, and then the Oscars they did a grassroots, which they weren't supposed to do. You're not supposed to to do that to influence. Well, they did it anyway and got this other Andrea Riseborough nominated instead. yeah, that also helped close the door for me too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I didn't know Scorsese lost 7 times. I know Susan Lucci lost like 20 times before she won hers. She's a soap opera star, and it was cruel. It's cruel. It was cruel.
It is.
They always put her up there for an award, and then they just never voted for her. It was like a joke, except it wasn't for her. It's like they finally gave it to her, and it's like she was so happy about it, and it's like it was really a disgrace because like. So you're gonna tell me that this woman, you nominated her 20 straight times, and yet you couldn't find it. You couldn't find it in your heart to actually honor her. You just made it. You just made it. Like it's a dog and pony show.
Right. Right.
So
I agree.
what have you seen so far this year or upcoming this year that has gotten you excited?
Yeah. So this year, I've seen a few movies, but not a lot of 2025 release movies.
Yeah.
Certain ones at cinemas, of course, have been busy with the wedding and the last week's been one of the busiest weeks of my life, so I didn't really have a lot of chance to watch movies. But yeah, I've got there's some exciting ones coming up. Whether it's a good release that looks exciting, or whether it's a release that looks terrible, but I'm still excited to see it. So, for example, today I noticed on streaming there's a movie called Popeye's Revenge. Uh, I mean, I don't know who he's getting revenge against, but he wants revenge somehow.
That's probably gonna be. Is that gonna be Louisa Warren?
I don't know actually. I'll be honest with you,
Why
but
don't you get her? Why don't you get her on your show? Could you do? I can't do mine, but you can do it on yours because she's English. Get Louisa Warren on your show, and I'd love to see you interview Louisa Warren.
if I like a project, I would. If I don't like the projects, it's not happening.
Have you seen have you seen any of her projects?
What's she been in?
Oh my God! She's done some really great movies. She's done some directing, and she also works as a star. She's got the Scarecrow series, as the Scarecrow franchise. She's got the Leprechaun. She did a Leprechaun franchise.
Okay.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. I think you need to look her up and
I'll
get her
look her
on your show. I would be first in line. I would actually pay to see that.
Okay, I'll have to look her up. Yeah.
No, just take my word for it. You don't need to look her up. Take my word for it. I won't. I wouldn't steer you wrong.
Nah, you wouldn't.
All right. Okay. I have not. I don't. Because it's never going to happen. So I don't really give a rat's ass. But
Yeah.
she's horrible. Have you ever gone out there and said? And have you ever done that before, where you just gone out there and say, there's I have nothing positive to say about this. I'm trying to. I try to find something positive. I do with her movies too. I try to, like I did watch one of her movies. My friend Eric, hey internet, it's Eric. We did a schlock versus horror.
Yeah.
And I got one called Leprechaun, the Leprechaun's Game, and oh my God, it was so bloody awful. It was so, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's an actress that I interviewed before. Her name is Victoria, and she had a scene in the movie. I had no idea she was in it. So I'm just sitting there going like, oh, I just can't wait to go to town on this. And then she pops up there, and I'm going like, oh. I like, and the funny thing was she had a one small little scene, and she nailed it. She nailed it. I'm just sitting there going like, why come she's not in the movie more? How come she's not the final girl? Why? So I didn't go out there and I didn't crush it. I mean, I might have cracked it a little bit, but
didn't crush it.
Yeah, have you ever pulled a punch like that? I mean, I asked you before with your other friend, but have you ever, with somebody you don't know, or maybe an actor you do know, have you pulled a punch? I mean, or gone back to like I reviewed movies again. Like I did one movie. I talked to a director, and it was my second movie I ever reviewed, ever. And there was a movie called Seattle Superstorm, and I knew nothing about. I wasn't even on YouTube or anything.
I saw your review recently for that.
Yes, I went back and I re-reviewed it because the first time I reviewed it was my second interview I ever did, and I'm just sitting there going to town on it, like this movie is boo. I went back after I talked to Jason. I went back, I talked to Jason, and he was talking about some of the things he had to overcome. Knowing what I knew, I went back and I watched it again. Didn't my review wasn't as harsh. I mean, there's a lot of problems with this still, but knowing what I know, how he had to make the film and what he overcome, I was a little bit more lenient with it. It's like, okay, I get it. And now I understand the filmmaking process a little bit better. Now it's I guess I review harshly more on big budget movies than I do small ones. Small ones, I have a lot more compassion for, because they have so much more to overcome.
Right.
What do you think about what was going on here? I'm going to go back to this subject again because I think it affects us.
Sure.
What do you think about as far as in terms of the world as where we're at? How do you think it's going to play out? How do you think it's going to play out on both TV and the screen, big screen? Do you think that we have to be concerned about how movies are made and what messages they'll be allowed to tell, or what stories they'll be allowed to tell, or do you think that
Well, I think with movies and TV shows nowadays, they're more careful with what they say and what they do in portraying messages and how they relay those as well. Like how many times have we seen nowadays, Patrick, where a comedy movie will not have any substance like it had back in the 2000s or the 90s, for example, or the 80s. They're made completely different, or a lot of the stuff back when, like if you go back and say watch American Pie, just as an example, like a lot of stuff in that comedy movie won't be said nowadays, won't be done nowadays for offending people or cancel culture or whatever the situation may be. So I think as the years go on, and whether it's whatever movement maybe comes next or what's happening right now, I think it's always one of those with comedy, especially. They've got to be really careful of how they portray a comedy and how they action that. So I think it just depends on the world and how the times changes, and what is maybe being deemed acceptable in the past isn't anymore. But is that for the right reason? Is that for the wrong reasons? That's always going to be a discussion. But I think in terms of what's happening now, we always see, as time goes by, biopics. We always see depictions. Like when the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp court case came on, it was pretty quick to make a Hallmark parody version of that, or a documentary on it straight away. Like pretty quick after it happened. So
right?
something like this more likely will get a documentary maybe a year down the line to say, oh, this time this is what happened with this leader of the world and this leader and this party. So I don't know. I think it's just times has changed.
Yeah, the comedy thing is really scary. I mentioned
Yeah.
this. I talked to Frank Marino yesterday. He was an actor, came on the show, and he and I were talking about how the first time Donald Trump was president, he was fair game for all of our political pundits and Saturday Night Live and everything else. I mean, everybody was making fun of him.
Right.
The second time has come around, and you're not seeing anybody do that. There's nobody out there, like Saturday Night Live, nothing. They're not saying nothing about nothing. They're scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared. They're not going to make waves. They're not going to, they don't, they know there's repercussions coming. And censor in that sense, it's censorship. The government's using his voice. Maybe maybe it's big brother's watching, and he's going to put a boot on your neck if you say anything too controversial. And it was just really telling, because it's like, man, you haven't heard anybody really go to town on him. they're all raising I think maybe because it's more scarier this time, as far as where he's trying to take us to. But the fact of the matter is that comedy voices, as we know it, they're silent. We're not. I'm not seeing anybody over here that's cracking jokes. And we don't show comedies here on our TV anymore. It's very. I think as far as network TV goes, Mike, I think we have like 3 or 4 comedies, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's all we got. It used to be comedy used to be king, and
Yeah.
now it's I'm just not seeing it. Um, so
No.
what do you got coming up next on your channel? What can we look forward to after you recover from your Have you been on your honeymoon yet?
No, so honeymoon is a little bit later on in the year.
Oh, okay.
But for now I'm back. So yeah, so I've got my review coming up for the Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah.
I checked that out, so I'm gonna review that.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
Like in the middle of the road.
You
Yeah.
know what? That's funny. It's funny. We're talking about politics, right? We're like, I don't want to talk politics or what, and yet there's Captain America, and
Right.
it's all politics out. I mean, they couldn't use. I was talking about this before you got here. They were going to have there was a character from the comics named Sabra, and she was a Jewish superhero, and she's been in many magazines and whatnot. Well, they couldn't have that. They couldn't have her be a Israeli superhero. So they just made her into an agent. No powers, no nothing. Just you know, and I'm just like, really? And then they end up killing another character um, that in the comic book is still alive, and he actually was an interesting character. His name was Demolition Man or D Man, and
Yeah.
it was a bit of a bit of a joke, but still he has some skills, and it was a character that in the had its fans, and they killed that character off too, and I'm like, why did he feel like he needed to do that? Why do you feel like and the part with Sabra was really maddening. It's like, oh shit, because whenever you see a character, a smaller character,
Mhm.
when they get airtime, it causes a lot of excitement.
Right.
For me, it really does. I'm really excited to see when a smaller character is making the movies. It's like, wow, because if they can do that, like the Serpent Squad, right?
Right.
One of my favorite characters was in a story with the Serpent Squad. It was like a
Mhm.
huge storyline many years ago, but it helped establish his character. So
Right.
now I'm like, well, if they're gonna bring back the Serpent Squad. Maybe they'll bring back some of the smaller characters too. Like that's always exciting to see. But it
Mhm.
got politicked out. Um,
Yeah. It's no, it's nice to see smaller characters because it's nice to see them get time to shine and introduce to someone new, than just the
uh,
same old heroes.
Tom's mentioning he has Ukrainians living on his street. They hate Zelensky for what he has done to their house, family, cities. It's all destroyed. Um, you know what? I feel for them, but Zelensky did not throw the first punch. He did not. He did not. He did not. When the Russians took the Crimea, he stayed. He let them take it. He didn't want it. He didn't want this fight. It was brought to him. But now that he's here, he's gonna give it all he's got.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
just
feel I
it's just a shame that people's
Yeah.
losing their houses and lives over this.
I'm just
Not needed.
it's heartbreaking. And then
Yes.
we have our asshole turn around and calling the man who's doing his best to defend his country. He called him a tyrant. He called him a dictator. It's just like, wow, it's like he didn't invade Russia. Russia came to him, and
Mm.
yet, yeah, it's
It's just upsetting. It's just not needed.
No,
you know,
no.
like
Uh,
should be.
well, you know what? I'm looking forward to this. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'm looking forward to seeing the bad movie series you got cooking up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, you are going to have Ryan do this too, I hope.
Yeah, so the idea is I'm going to have 10 movies in the series. I'm
Okay,
going to hope to release one per week. I've got no set start time for this series because I've got to get the movies together first. I've got to get the guests together first. I've got to pick out the movies. So, for example, Patrick, when we watch the movie, I'll give you the movie. You watch that in your spare time. I'll watch it in my time. You'll record like a video, send it over to me. I'll clip it in my review, kind of thing.
sure,
I'll,
sure.
I'll explain more in
I'm
detail.
just trying to think. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think what you're going to send me. I think I already gave you way too much ammunition. I'm fully expecting to see. I'm fully expecting to see a Louisa Warren coming through my mailbox, and
it's
hey,
it's not going to be good. I'll just tell you that way. It's going to be the worst movie I can find. That's what it's going to be.
Kevin, how are you, sir? Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But this will wrap it up for today. I want to thank our good friend Mike for coming over and hanging out with us, talking some tough talk.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see some discussions like this on other movie channels. I like to hear it. I like to see it. I like to hear what other people are thinking because because you don't want to talk about it or won't talk about it doesn't mean it's not coming to your doorway anyway. It's coming, and you're gonna have to deal with it sooner than later. Of course, we'll be back here next Tuesday, or actually, we'll be back on Sunday on the 16th at 4 o'clock. On the 23rd, I'm sorry, the 23rd, 23rd,
23rd.
yeah,
23rd.
23rd. I'll be here. I'll be on JT's channel at 4 p.m. We're doing Clash of the Titans, Last of the Mohicans, and the 13th Warrior. Who do you like? Who do you like in that fight?
So we've got Last of Mohicans.
Right.
Which of ones?
And the 13th Warrior.
I'm going to go Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans. JT will love you for that. He picked Last of the Mohicans. I picked the mighty 13th Warrior.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's going to be an interesting discussion.
We will definitely be talking about that on Sunday at 4 p.m. And then on at night at 8 p.m. we're heading over to Ben's channel, Cadara Club, for the IFC night, and we will be talking Contracted. That will be on 8 o'clock, and looking forward to that. It looks really, really good. Looking forward to watching it. Looking forward to the discussion. But otherwise, that is it for us. Thank you all so much for thank you so much for coming out. And yeah, we will. Yeah, you know what? We would have to see the deal before you give up anything. You don't want to you don't want to do a Chamberlain, right? No Neville Chamberlain here, right? All right. Yeah. I'm so fucking impressed with that. That's the best moment right here. You know who he is.
Yeah.
Good, because not too many people don't.
I do.
Awesome.
And I will just say this as well. I just want to say, anyone who's watching live after the fact, please go over and support Patrick's channel. I have Cheetah Will View. Really, really great guy. He does all these interviews. He does reviews. He does all sorts, and the guy really appreciates and deserves a lot more love as well. So please go over and subscribe to Patrick if you're not already.
And if you don't mind a small smidge of politics once in a while. But yeah, we're out of here. Stay right where you're at, Mike. I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody. We'll see you Sunday at 4 o'clock. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.